Three shots on me, 2 shots on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Welcome back to another episode of the Coolin with Coach Breeze podcast, brought to you by EBO Beer Butter. I am, of course, your game day drip coordinator, Coach Breeze, and today I have a special guest in the building. This person has a very infectious personality, and once I bring him up, you'll learn very quickly why I say what I say. He is a former ARCA and Cars tour driver, affectionately known as NASCAR's chief hype officer, and currently co-host of the Happy Hour podcast with Kevin Harvick on Fox Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. MambaSmith.
Oh man, what an introduction! I feel good. That was pretty good. We might need to get you on stage for those.
Hey man, I'm with it. Next race, just let me know.
I see that you're a big Washington. What do you call them? The Commanders? Or you
the
call
Commanders,
them
yeah.
Okay,
Commanders
you call
now.
them. Okay, yeah, okay.
I mean, every once in a while, I do slip up and say one of the old names, but it's Commanders. I'm born and raised in DC, so
Love
DC
it.
sports everything. And then unfortunately, for my wallet, I became known as, if you can see in the background, the guy with all this bunch of shoes and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll get into that later on. Unfortunately, it's a very expensive habit that I have now set myself up to have to maintain. But
man, I feel it.
How you feeling though, man? How you feeling?
I'm great, man. It's a great day. It's a great day to be alive. I'm excited about the weekend ahead. We got Daytona coming up this weekend.
Absolutely.
We got our Trackside Chronicles vlog that's fueled by Sunoco. So basically, that's a follow of my weekend and gives you an inner perspective of what goes on at the racetrack from my view. And it's been pretty fun. We've done 3 of them this year already, 3 or 4. So Daytona is the next one on the list. So it's gonna be a good time.
Should be fun. So before we get into like the thick and the heat of the NASCAR season, because we're right there with it's been a crazy few weeks, and the next 2 weeks are going to be. This week is going to be crazy. We already know how that's going to play out. So before we get into all of that, I want to talk about Mamba for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the followers of the show, I'm a diehard NASCAR fan, like since.
Really?
4 diehard NASCAR fan.
Oh, yeah.
I was born in 91. I think my earliest NASCAR memories are like 94, 95, like legitimately. Like I remember going to the race at Pocono. I believe Rusty Wallace won the race. Like it was like way back then.
Man, I love to hear that.
So yeah. So a lot of the followers of the show, they kind of are getting into NASCAR because of me. You know me, I go to the tracks. I was at Richmond. Richmond was my 5th race this year. I go to at least 3 or 4 races every year. So a lot of people are getting into NASCAR based on what I do. So that's why while I do talk about football and basketball and all that kind of stuff, I do make sure I push NASCAR content because, we try to grow the sport, right? So
yeah, of course.
So of course, in this space that we're in right now, I want to get as many people as possible into NASCAR in some form or fashion. So before we get into the season, though, I'm curious. How does a young man of Haitian descent, get into auto racing?
Yeah, man. It was. I'm adopted, so I grew up in Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was like 3, my dad took me to my first race. With a friend was wanting to go, and I was like, "What's that?" And he told me. I'm like, "Dad, can we go?" And my dad's like, "Sure." So we went, and I loved it, man. I loved it from the jump. That next year, my dad bought me a go-kart.
Okay.
And I really think probably if we didn't start winning right away, I don't know if I would have loved it as much. Because I'm one of those people that I don't do stuff that I'm not good at. Like,
listen,
it just is what it is.
I agree with you 100%.
I'm just a little bit too competitive to get my butt whooped on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Oh, you
Without
can speak
being,
freely. You can speak freely. Like,
yeah, I don't want that. I'm not trying to get that ass whooping. So like, if
yeah,
I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get good at it. So
right.
luckily, like with racing, I was just kind of good at it from the jump, and it snowballed into championships, go-karting, and then we traveled. We raced regionally for like the national tour, but it was like in the our region of it. Stepped up into what they call Allison Legacy car, which is like a 3/4 scale car. It's like almost a little bit smaller than probably like a Mini Cooper,
Okay.
but it's a completely built race car from the ground up. Won a championship doing that. Stepped up to late models when I was like 16, so that was a little unheard of in our region. Down in North Carolina, it's more standard, but in Vermont, it was pretty like whoa, you need to take the proper steps. I did a different course.
Right.
And then basically, man, like we ran out of money. Like we were okay. Like we didn't have enough money to really compete at a high level, but we were okay. And I won some heat races. I podiumed once or twice in the feature events. And then the NASCAR diversity program, we found that. And that was really how I got down here. I came down to North Carolina to drive, right, to find a way into driving. But to do that, I had to become a mechanic so I could be around it and figure out my way in the space. And so I did that with the diversity program. Worked for Kyle Larson, won a championship with him over there, and then went to Stuart Haas, won a championship with Kevin Harvick, which is where I met Kevin. And Tony Stewart was my favorite race car driver, and I told everyone he was going to be my boss one day, and he became that. And now we're really good friends. So like, it all just kind of kept going. But yeah, long story short, it just it was a passion, and I loved it. And yeah, man, it's just like everything else. You find those things.
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't realize really and truly how expensive of a I don't want to say hobby, but how expensive of a thing it is to race.
Yeah.
I mean, like you think about like basketball and football, buy a ball, buy some cleats, you're pretty much good to go. Like racing, especially at that grassroots level, you're building your own cars for the most part, like and maintaining your own cars for the most part. Like it's even for guys that are like, super prospects that people see like, oh, he's going to be like Cup Series champion one day and he's 8 years old. Even for those kind of guys, it's still an expensive habit to build and travel and maintain. And so I completely understand. Like my middle son, he's 5 now. And every weekend he's asked me, Daddy, why is the NASCAR race on? When is the race coming on? I want to be a NASCAR driver when I grow up. I'm like, ooh, I would love that, but ooh, Daddy's pockets right now. And especially with where we live at, racing isn't really
it's not very accessible, and you're not really
Yeah.
exposed to it in that area.
Like when I look at somebody like a Raja Caruth, right? Like Raja Caruth right now is living a dream that I had as a kid. He's living like my son's dream right now.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like I'm a huge Raja fan. Like every time I'm able to go to a truck race or a race where there's a truck weekend, I end up running into Raja somehow. And I'm trying to get him on here. We still working on that, but Raja is like the coolest dude ever. But just in this area, like he kind of had to go to North Carolina to kind of really get that goal. That's like the home of NASCAR.
You have to, if you're going to make it as a NASCAR driver, NASCAR anything, you have to come here at some point. Right. And the earlier you get here, the better chance you have of making a long-term career. Me and my dad had a conversation when I was like 13 or 14. He was like, a real one. He was like, if you're, at some point you're gonna have to move. And I never thought about leaving. I thought, watching on TV, like these cats are flying private planes and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh no, I'll make it off of talent because we're winning. I'll make it off of, winning, and then I'll fly back home and like do that. Nah, that is not at all. That is a fantasy and then some. That is nothing to the sort.
So I'm curious, did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just NASCAR from day one?
Yeah, no, NASCAR, like racing is my passion, but basketball is my first love, probably.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I love basketball. So I would go and play, even now, right? Like now I'll go and play and just like do something other than racing or racing related. I think it's really important. I preach that to Coolin Harvick all the time, who's going to be great. He's at 12 years old. He's a dog. Yeah. And so I'm always like, hey man, just make sure you do some stuff outside of racing. Like we love this, but like
Right.
you need an escape because when it's not going well, you need something to pull you out of that, spiral mindset so you can get going back in the right direction. So yeah, I played high school. I played soccer, basketball, baseball, lacrosse senior year, and track senior year. So had I known, because I'm from a small town, man. Like my town had like 5,000 people. I
Oof.
graduated with 64 kids. The town next to me graduated with 9. Like,
Yeah,
like it's small town stuff.
I think my graduating class in high school might have had 800-900 kids. Like, like I'm saying, yeah.
When I moved down here, like the school right next to where I moved to, they had like 5,000 people and 5,000 kids in it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
that's like my whole town. So it was a culture shock going from small town Randolph, Vermont to just a normal suburban area like Huntersville, North Carolina. So, but basketball, yeah, I love playing sports. We didn't have football. We
Okay.
didn't like there wasn't enough schools to have it really. But
Gotcha.
so I would have loved to play football. I always wanted to play.
So is basketball where the nickname comes from, or?
No, actually, it actually really comes from racing. So like in 2010 or 2011 when I moved down here, like when you go karting, you can put like a username in.
Yeah.
To the right. So at the time, 2009, 2010, Kobe was the best basketball player in the world. And like everyone was calling him the Black Mamba. And then like D'Anthony Thomas with the Ducks became the Black Mamba of Oregon. He became the Black Mamba of college football. Like there was like a Black Mamba showing up in every sport. Yeah, it was a thing for a short time. And I'm like, when I got down there, I'm like, oh, there's definitely no Black Mamba in NASCAR. Like, I know that. So I used that as the username for the go-kart thing.
Stuck.
Yeah, well, the next time I went with like Brandon McReynolds, Corey LaJoy, Joey Logano, like Ryan Flores, Mark Davis, a bunch of people that race or in the industry that have been here for a minute. Mm-hmm. And I went with Michael Cherry, who used to be a part of the NASCAR diversity program. And so I only knew him. And so like after the first race, I was like 7th or something on the board. Mm-hmm. And they're like, who's the Black Mamba? And I'm like, what's up? Like I'm 18 years old. Like just moved my whole life. Like I got nobody, nothing. Like it's just, and they're like, that's freaking awesome. And this, that, and the other. And then the next race, they in the first corner, we went 3 wide and they put me in the wall so hard that they had to stop the race and pry the go-kart out. So like after that, they like knew my face, and then I was around the racetrack a lot, and then we were all together a lot. And so probably for the first like year and a half, 2 years, no one knew my name was Dylan Smith. Like my government name was Dylan Smith. No one knew that. They all just knew as Black Mamba.
And now you're Mamba for life at this point.
Yeah, no. Now it got kind of weird for a minute when Kobe passed away. Like people were like, he's not the real Black. Like you know what I mean?
I get it.
Like and I'm just like, I'm like, yo, I've had this nickname since I was 18 years old. Like I'm not gonna change it now, you know what I mean? Like it's not that deep. So
yeah, I get it. It's always dope when like nicknames can be like organic and then just stick like that. Yeah. Like my government name is Chris, and I got my nickname in Spanish class in the 10th grade, and then it stuck from there, and I've been Breeze ever since. And you know what I mean? Like now my family even calls me Breeze a lot of times. I'm just, I'm that now. I can't get away from it.
It's so funny, bro. I have like my parents live down here now, and like I made a couple of my really good friends from Vermont move to Charlotte because I felt like I needed more of home, and honestly, like it worked out great for them, and like they got good jobs down here, and one's married with a kid, and one has a house and a girlfriend, and they're doing great. But I told them, I'm like, hey, just so you know, like if you call me Dylan down here, no one's gonna know who you're talking about. Yeah. And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, we're not calling you Mamba. Because we're to high school, like they've known me my whole life. I'm like, I don't care what you do, but you're gonna have to explain people like who you're talking about. So like I'm just letting you know. So
yeah, it's So I'm curious. How did you go from wanting to be a driver and a mechanic and like working for the
Mhm.
team to kind of getting into like the social media side, and now it's grown to where like you do driver introductions, and obviously you had a relationship with Kevin Harvick from working with Stuart Haas, but like
Yep.
how did you go from one side of basically from being on the track side to being behind the camera and in the booth and stuff like that, behind the microphone basically?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, and I still go race. I still race a couple times a year. I raced earlier this summer with Lee Falk Racing, which is like the team that I race late models with.
Mhm.
We have a big race in Pensacola in December. We're gonna race at the Snowflake, which is during Snowball Derby weekend. Massive late model event. So much fun, a lot of partying, a lot of good times. But like I never thought about doing this. Like it wasn't on my wish list to like become a media personality or to
Mhm.
become in front of the camera. Looking back on it now, I think I always kind of did stuff like this, and I was never afraid of being a voice in a room full of a lot of people, even as a
Mhm.
kid.
Yeah.
But really, what happened was it was out of necessity. Like I came down here and I couldn't even read a tape measure. So I had to learn how to I had to earn my stripes like the hard way, like the OG way,
Yeah.
not like it is now where like kind of,
Like
you're
you had
being
to.
pampered and everyone's a little bit, you know what I mean? No, it was like, boy, like pay attention, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
old coach stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
And so that really helped decide if I was going to be tough enough to want to figure it out, right? Like it wasn't, I had my parents weren't here, there was no family, it was just like me. So it's like, how bad do you want this thing? So um figured out that if I learned how to work on cars, I could eventually like build my own if I needed to. um
Gotcha.
and do that stuff. So figured that out. Got an opportunity from Haas, Stuart Haas, Haas Automation, wanted to give me some money to go race late models for a full year. So
Mhm.
we did that. Bubba Wallace actually him and his dad gave me one of their old race cars that was like 1/3 put together the year
Mhm.
before. And then when the money came through, I was like, oh, I actually have a car. And we used the first like 20 grand of this money to finish the car, me and one other guy. Man,
Dang.
we raced North Carolina, South Carolina, Friday, Saturday night, every weekend. We ended up as high as like 39th in national points. So it's like across, like you're racing, the way the points works is you're racing people that all over the country that race in NASCAR sanctioned events, right? So it's like just like basketball, AAU, whatever, national rankings and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we were pretty high. Um, and then the next year I got into the diversity program. I've tried out for that thing a total of 7 times. Um, but as I was doing that, I was learning so much about the business and about different things. And then when I left Stuart Haas, I was a mechanic again for a low team in ARCA. I was like the
Mhm.
third employee. So I helped build this thing. And I went from being a mechanic to doing social and
Okay.
like doing comms, social, running the parts room, doing all that because I already knew how to build my brand, right? So now I'm just building another brand for the race team and I kind of understood that. A lot of it has to do with engagement and just engaging with people and like they want to know. What I've noticed is like a lot of the fans, they don't have a lot of access to their favorite athletes.
Right. Right.
So for me, I do like I know these guys and these girls and everybody. So like I can give you some access and some perspective on who these people are
Mhm.
to help. I'm trying to ultimately help grow the sport. So like if you know a little bit more information of someone personally, then you're like, oh, maybe I will follow that person a little bit more. So um, I built the brand up for the race team, and then the team shut down, and I was like, all right, I'm out. And I went and worked for an event company. We were doing drift rides for Dodge, different events for Ferrari, uh, Ram. It's basically all Stellantis. So I was happy doing that. I'm like traveling to different cities, working with NHRA drivers. Like I'm just, I'm managing a tour after the first year. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like making good money every day, day rate. And then NASCAR called and they're like, "Hey, we want you to be in studio analyst for this show called Backseat Drivers with Alex Weaver." I was like, "Okay." And they're like, I'm like, "How much is this gonna pay?" And they told me, and I'm like, "Absolutely." So man, yeah, like it just kind of came all the way back full circle, and they pay me to be exactly who I am. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's really cool because I don't think everybody gets that opportunity to. They got to conform to something or other, and I really don't have to. You know what I mean? I'm very blessed in that, and they empower me to be who I am and to have my voice, and it's been dope, man. It's been dope.
Yeah, and I've been able to see you like at this most recent weekend at Richmond. I was a guest of Spire Motorsports and Thor Motorsports, Thor Sports, Thor Sport, yeah, for the truck series. So I was able to be, like on pit road, like actually in the garage and all of that. But usually I'm in the grandstands and like if I can get pre-race access, and I'll be like on the track. Like, so I to say like I see you, do your thing in pre-race with the driver, like see how your personality and your relationships with these drivers shines in those moments where somebody else might just be like, driver number 22 car, Joe Logano, and then it's different, and especially guys that you're like close with. So guys like a Bubba Wallace or Corey LaJoy, like guys like that you're really close with, you can really see it. I know, like on the TV side, with the exception of like Daytona, the All-Star race, a lot of times the introductions aren't really televised. So like the TV audience can't really see that, but the fans in attendance can 100% see like you are absolutely having fun with every minute of what you do, when you're out there. I tried to catch you at Richmond. I saw you like in like y'all were kind of planning on the stage, and I'm like, I gotta do this real quick. And
Man, I wish you would have grabbed me.
Bro, I was like standing right at the beginning of Victory Lane. And I was on a phone call, and I looked like, damn, that's Mamba. And like, I had to finish my phone call, and by the time I was walking towards you, were like going like onto the track area. I'm like, damn, all right. This was like early on Sunday.
Yeah, early Sunday. We were doing rehearsal.
Yeah. I was like, damn, I just missed it. And I hung around for a minute. I was like, yeah, he gone.
Yeah, I literally had found one of the officials. They were doing like pace car rides, and I jumped in the pace car and like took a ride around.
Yeah, like literally, I saw you walk to the gate, and I was like, damn, he about to go. And I saw you walk through and then kind of walk around. I'm like, yeah, he gone.
Damn, I wish you would have just yelled. I would have heard it too.
One day we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
We'll link for sure.
I think I might make Martinsville this year, maybe. Okay. We'll see though. We'll see.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, no, man. Like driver intros. So that is the pre-race stuff. That is when the fans see the drivers without their helmets the most.
Yes.
And I've taken upon myself to make that a moment for the fans. If I can make those drivers give a reaction, whether it's, high energy, like Corey comes out and he's just like, let's go. And he like flexes, or like, Bubba and Blaney and I have a handshake. Kyle Busch and I have a handshake. Larson called me and was like, hey, bro, we need to get a handshake. Because everyone's starting to see like these moments are cool and it's fun and it's just like real. And so, I'm bringing what I always did in stick and ball sports a little bit to the NASCAR end. Yeah. And like when bro, Richmond, the way that the tunnel is, we don't have a tunnel normally. Like normally it's a stage. Right. But at Richmond, there's a tunnel and like a long pier. And the way that thing is, it makes me feel like I'm coming out into a stage. I black out for about 45 seconds when I hit that stage. Like I am so hyped when I get to Richmond and the fans are rocking with me. And it's cool. Now we're doing like this little, because Shabuzi's song Tipsy, the bar song, it's like been a summer anthem. Right. So now we're taking a clip of that. And then right before we do driver intros, I get the fans singing along to the chorus. And when you have like 20, 30, 40,000 people singing along to something and the music goes out and I'm like, God, this is a moment. You know what I mean? So it's been really fun. Me and my DJ stylist, Chris, and DJ Bobby Hash, we've been working on this whole thing for a minute. So it's getting dope.
Yeah, and one thing for sure, like obviously we all have differences of opinions on all kind of stuff, but one thing we can generally bond over is sports. You know what I mean? So whether it's football, basketball, NASCAR, whatever, those are like bonding moments where you and I may be standing side to side and we may disagree on everything else, but we both have a number 9 hat on right now. We can agree on that.
We can agree
you know what I mean?
on that.
And like, so it's dope. And then again, with the intros, like, I think NASCAR's in a good space right now where a lot of, if you look back into like the 90s and even, kind of the beginning of the 2000s, even though they were great drivers, and that was like the peak of like NASCAR sponsorship where you saw faces and stuff, but like there weren't a whole lot of personalities in NASCAR. Like you had Dale Earnhardt, who was the intimidator. You had Jeff Gordon, and then outside of that, it was like, oh yeah, he's a great driver, but I don't really know much about it. There was like no like real superstar in NASCAR. Now I think a lot of the drivers have a lot of personality. So again, Bubba Wallace has personality. Denny Hamlin has personality. Even Joey Logano has personality. But some of these guys, you wouldn't know it because most fans only see them strapped inside of a car with their helmet.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. That's the thing. I'm trying to pull that out of them because, and truthfully, a lot of them are they're like, man, I can't do that. Like, I can't. I'm like, brother, there's 60,000 people here just to watch you be one of 40 to do this thing.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Like, they want to see you like be proud about driving this machine. They want to see you excited about getting it. You know what I mean? And I understand, like right before you get in the car, there's a lot of fans around and pictures and all the things. But like, if you can give the fans 10 seconds, just 10 seconds of pure emotion, it matters.
Yeah. So like with me, I used to play football. I coach football now, but I used to play football.
Yep.
And I was always like, I get nervous before every game. Even as a coach, I get nervous before every game. And me getting nervous, like, that's how I know this matters to me. I care about this, right? So you remember how Ray Lewis used to have his whole "what time is it" thing?
Yeah.
So when I was in high school and college, that was my thing. That's what I did. And that was like my opportunity to, okay, I can shut off Chris now. And now whoever this person on this, like, I get to release all of this emotion and energy, get that out, get all that nervous energy out. Okay, now we can lock in and focus. And I think, again, doing that, I'm pretty sure before you strap into a race car at 200 miles an hour and drive sandwiched between concrete walls and other race cars, you're a little bit nervous. Like, even the best people, like Cup Series drivers are the best drivers in North America at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
And, I would argue to say, some of them in the world, because we've seen open wheel drivers can't just hop into a Cup Series car and go fast and win. So, you know what I mean? Like, we've seen, Cup Series guys jump into Indy cars and run well. The going the other way doesn't really work as well. So, no disrespect to them. F1 and IndyCar drivers are great. They're great.
Correct.
Driving a stock car is just different, especially this next gen car, but it's just way different. So, like, being able to, for people to see that before they do their thing and them get that nervous energy out, and for you to be like the vessel to get it out through, I think that's dope.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, we put a lot of effort into it. I feel like the fans are really rocking with it. Like, they're looking for things. They're tagging me. They're like, man, this is awesome. And after I get off the stage, every week people are just like, that was great. Like, you brought so much in. And it means a lot to me because we really are trying to make that a moment. And it's not for me, right? I'm trying to make that moment as great as I can for the fans. So It's an experience. And I know that it's not on TV right now, but if I keep pushing it and making it look cool, making it look fun, then at least they'll start using some of it. Like, I can already tell that the teams are starting to use it more on their social. Like, if you look at the teams and the drivers, they post now their pre-race stuff. Like, they post us on stage, like, because I'm always saying something dumb to make them laugh or make them do something. I'm trying to pull some type of reaction out of these guys. And man, I love it. I love it. You've mentioned Ray Lewis, bro. Last year at Richmond, it was the first time I did intros at Richmond, and I'm like, man, we are close to Baltimore. We are pretty close to Baltimore area. Like, I came out on that stage and I hit the Ray Lewis dance. Oh my god, and like the flames were popping. It was a moment it was wild.
That, like, with this era that we live in of social media and cameras being literally everywhere, like literally in everyone's pocket at this point, like, you never know what somebody might catch on camera that's not televised and can take off and like become a thing.
Yep. That's
So
the
like I
point.
know me, like I said, with the way my energy is, I have two different personalities. I can tell you that right now. Like the person I am, you know, off camera I'm usually calm and chill and reserved. When I get on camera behind the microphone, when I'm playing, I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
So like I know, like if I was a NASCAR driver and I'm gonna come out there dancing and you know, I mean, you know, like again, you have guys like Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano who Bubba guys boom and they play into it. Okay, like you're cheering one way or another. That noise is noise. That's fine. It could be crickets out here. One way or another, I'm going to. You're reacting. That's good. If I gotta be the heel, I gotta be the heel. But you're still making noise for me.
You do not. Yeah, man, you're hitting the nail on the head with that. So like for Kyle Busch, me and him, it's a handshake where I like drop the sand, like a little bit of like the saltiness, because he's always making people salty, and he puts his hand out and he throws it over his shoulder, like it's just these little things. And then Denny, like we bring him out to you can hate me now, but I won't, right? Because he's such a polarizing and he feeds into it. So like I'm feeding into your personality that you're portraying that you want to be. I'm trying to make these moments viral so people want to go to the track and be like, oh, that's what that's like, or even maybe turn it on. You know what I mean? But we only get like 30 minutes of that, because once the helmet goes on and then the car, like you don't know exactly who that person is. They're different once they're in the car too. So.
Yeah. And like you mentioned Ryan Blaney. Like I don't think there's anybody else in the Cup Series who is a completely different person with his helmet on behind the wheel than he is, you know, like Ryan Blaney is one of the nicest, most genuine drivers I've had. These last few years, I've been able to meet a lot of drivers. You know, I'm fortunate. I'm happy for it. To the point that I want kids to be able to meet their favorite drivers. I don't really care about meeting. It's dope. It's cool. But like, I know I'm 30 years old. That's 33 years old now.
Yeah.
If this little 6-year-old kid can meet their driver, to hell with me. I'm not worried about that. Yo, sign for him. And like I know Denny, Bubba, Blaney, like they're great about signing for kids and stuff. And Ryan Blaney is literally one of the nicest guys, you know, in driver intros and, you know, walking down the line and everything. And he gets behind the wheel of a car and he's like a maniac. Like he's a different person, which I get it. Again, to do what you do. Sometimes if that's what you have to be, that's what you have to be. He's a Cup Series champion for a reason. But like, I just always think that's funny. Like, you know what I mean? So
you look at like Tom Brady, right? Like Brady, when he talks on camera, very calm, cool, and collect. But then you watch all the shit talking he does on the field, and you're like,
it's like who
you're like, oh, what is that?
Right.
And Ryan's one of my best friends, and like we used to be roommates, and I got so much love for YRB, but when he's in the car, it's definitely different. Like he's locked in. He always kind of has something to prove. Even though he's the champ, I feel like he always feels like he has something to prove, because when he was on his way up, they weren't talking about Ryan Blaney. They were talking about Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Corey LaJoie, Brett Moffitt. Like they were never really talking about Ryan like that. And even before he won the championship, a lot of people in the NASCAR media were like, he's good, but like he's not gonna win a championship, and he's gonna have a career like Casey Kane, which Casey Kane had a great career, but like they just weren't really giving him all that much respect. And now he's a champ. And like we talked about it on Harvick Happy Hour last week, and he's just like, I really want to do it again to like double down on it. And that's, I mean, you know, as an athlete, you get it. Like people are gonna say it was lucky, but once you do it twice, like,
So. And I mean, NASCAR is a kind of, it's a little weird where it's like it's a team sport, but it's still looked at as an individual sport for like outsiders, and so it's kind of like a little bit of both. But like if you look at like Cup Series champions, first of all, you can't luck into a championship.
No matter what,
like,
you're doing. I don't care what you're doing.
You can have a great strategy and win a race. You can, you know, super speedway race, and you can just be up front at the right time or be in the right place at the right time and have a good run and something like that. Like you can luck into a win essentially here and there, right? You can't luck into a championship. And for all that people say, I think Denny Hamlin is one of the best drivers on the planet, especially in a stock car. Like the way especially with this new car, the way he understands the aerodynamics and all that stuff. It just talks about it effortlessly. Denny Hamlin does not have a championship. I think Mark Martin is one of the greatest drivers. Doesn't have a championship. You know what I mean? Ryan Blaney has a championship. Now, we all know great athletes of other sports, like iconic athletes, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Dan Marino, like guys like that.
Randy Moss,
Randy Moss. It happens. But again, those are 100% team sports. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can lose a championship, and you can lose a championship in NASCAR because of a team mistake. Like, you can do that too. But like, you know, you have to be a good enough driver. Even if once your team fixes the car, puts everything together, you still have to go on the track and run. You have to drive the car. And he's able to drive a car well enough that he has a championship.
Low key, he could have, I mean, obviously it's ifs and, you know, but he could have 3 in a row, at least 2 in a row, because he won it last year, but the year before, going into not the final round, but the round of 8, he was at Vegas running like 5th or 6th and wrecks with Austin Dillon. Then that knocked him back in points. Then at Homestead, he was fine. He was running like top 3, I think, all day, and he had the car to beat. Comes down pit road on one of the last green flag pit stops, downshifts. And you might think, well, how do you do that? Well, is a sequential shifter. And so like muscle memory just had him doing something different. Like he was going in an H pattern. If some of your listeners don't drive a stick shift in an H pattern, you know, first gear is top left, second gear is, with sequential, it's like straight up or straight back is how you shift the car. And he, instead of pulling it back, he bumped that thing down and he wheel hopped and spun it out coming off of pit road, and like that was it. Then he had to win Martinsville, and he didn't win Martinsville, but like had he not done that, he would have been in the Final 4 on points. And in Phoenix that year, he was the fastest car, helped his teammate win the championship overall, and then the next year he ends up winning it. So like he could very easily be back-to-back champion right now.
Yeah, I think the thing with Ryan, I think Ryan is just really streaky. It's like he'll have runs where he'll be like super hot and he'll run well, a bunch of top 3s and a couple wins, and then he'll have like a 2 or 3, maybe with the way points work out, like a 2 or 3, 4 race span where he's like, through no fault of his own, it'll be a mistake on pit road, a flat tire, he'll get caught up in somebody else's mess on track, and or even just it happens. You have a bad run, and it's like now he's bumped down 3 spots in the points, and you know what I mean. But when Ryan Blaney is hot, he's one of the best drivers on that track.
Oh, for sure.
When he's on, he's one of the best out there.
For sure. And I think you said it. Like this is, to me, this is the ultimate team sport, because if one person isn't doing their job, like literally, it doesn't work. Like the machine works so well together that if there's a clog in the machine, like it literally jams up the rest. And I'll even say take it back to the shop. Like when I was at Stewart Haas and Teardown, these teams get these, you have these cars, and like you have cars you really like to use. Well, when a team or a crew chief or a driver, like they find this car that's hauling ass and they love it, they just want that thing back. So like you got to flip that car around for them and tear down. And like if you're not getting the cars back to these guys fast enough, it slows down the whole process of the shop. So, and that means that they don't have as much time to make it go fast and work on it to go fast. So everybody has to do their job. The pit crew athletes now, so important. Like a lot of these cats are coming from, football, whether it's college football, basketball, Major League Baseball, every sport, they're coming over now. And you still get that competitive adrenaline, that competitive hit that, athletes want. And they're fast now, man. It's hand-eye coordination. I'm just letting you
different.
I'm letting you know, the first person, we haven't had one yet, but somebody is going to decide at like 14 that all they want to do is change tires or be a jackman or be a carrier. When you decide that this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, and you decide it early, the advantage that you have, because all you're doing is working to this goal, is crazy. Like whoever is the first kid to decide to do that, they're gonna be the best pit crew athlete to go over the wall in history.
Like I think, and again, a lot of people who aren't into NASCAR wouldn't really understand this. So to put it like this, like I think NASCAR is 1A, 1B to me with like football in terms of being a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like the driver is just a part of it. I know that the driver gets all the glory, all the love. The driver is your quarterback, basically.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like you can, if you're right front tire carrier, right front tire changer is the receiver. He drops the ball in the end zone. You know what I mean? Like the team falls off because of that. That's like, and even more so again, like you said, you going back to the shop, you going, again, walking through the garage. If somebody misses something, has a mistake or something like that, any little slip up, even something that a casual person wouldn't deem a slip up, where your pitch stop would normally be 11 seconds, and now this one slip up makes it 12.5.
That's huge.
That can cost you 15 spots on the racetrack. You know what I mean? Like, and
100%.
you go from winning the race to now you aren't even getting stage points in this era of stage racing. Like now your whole day is screwed up because
literally put it in perspective of track and field. Since we just had the Olympics, track and field, all these cats are running like a 9 whatever, like a 9.6, right? Well, if they're running a 9.6 and you run a 10 flat or a 10.5, you are multiple steps behind. Like you are significantly behind when you get to that finish line. And it's the same thing on pit road, because if everyone on pit road is running a 9-second pit stop and you run a 12, you just lost probably, because 1 second on pit road it could be 4 or 5 spots because of how you get going in momentum. So like everybody has to do their job.
mean, depending on the track that you're on and where you pit from. Let's say you're running in 12th place at Richmond, and you pit, and that slip up. Now you adding 5 seconds to your pit stop. You might go a whole lap down now, where you might have blended in, with enough time to be in front of the track and get cycle around. Now you're a lap down. Like those things matter. And again, us as you obviously way deeper in NASCAR than I am, working for NASCAR, but you know what I mean. Like me, a diehard NASCAR fan, a casual fan probably wouldn't understand that.
Yeah, it's all the little things. It's the nuances. A lot of people watch, Drive to Survive and all the F1 stuff, and the cars sound really cool and they're going really fast, and like, but the element that they don't have that we have is our racing product is better. Absolutely. Like they are high on strategy, but we have the same strategies that they have, like thought processes and how to make leapfrog your car in certain places. But what we have is side by side bully ball racing, right. And I think ultimately, I think people appreciate that. But it takes them a minute to see it. And because F1 is worldly, now NASCAR is worldly too. We have a NASCAR Brazil series, a NASCAR Europe series, Mexico and Canada. So we're out there. It's just not the same, right? And I mean, F1 has full-blown manufacturers. They're basically sponsored by countries, right? Like if you drive for Ferrari, all of Italy loves you. If you drive for Alfa Romeo, all of Italy, like if you drive Mercedes-Benz, Germany, you are Germany's. Like, so it's a little bit different. But we're getting there, man. We're getting there. There's a lot of people of color, a lot of women that are making high-level decisions in the sport. So like, come on, like this is a place you want to be. I promise.
Yeah. So I want to change gears real quick. I'm happy you just mentioned bully ball, right? So let's get into it. Now this is it's a few weeks old now, but it's still a fluid situation. It's still a fluid situation. So again, with as fans know, NASCAR has probably the most gray area rule book in all of sports, right? There's a lot of it is situational. It's up to individual discretion, and in large part, drivers are allowed to more or less police themselves on the track. Mm-hmm. Now, we mentioned earlier that I was at Richmond a few weeks ago. So I'm curious, right? We're going to do this like a step-by-step thing.
Okay.
First things first.
Joey Logano through 3 and 4 for the final time. There's the contact. He does get to him. The 11 on the inside. He gets into the wall. Dillon's going to win it.
You've all seen what happened now. Like, going into turn 3, Austin Dillon is 4 or 5 car lengths back and basically just floors it and uses the bumper of the 22 car to slow down for the most part. More or less. First things first, the move in and of itself, right? Not just what he did to Logano, but what seems to be hooking Denny Hamlin. The move itself, fair or foul?
So for your fans that might not know, when we say hook, if you're on the outside, let's say the outside, right? Outside being turns going to the left, you're on the top side. If you right rear somebody, hit him on the right side, and turn them to the outside fence, that is what we call a hook. And it's basically like throwing the gloves off. It's going from and it's a very dangerous thing to do. People can get hurt very easily doing this, where you are going fast. This is, all those things. So just
turning someone head on into a concrete wall at very high rates of speed.
Right. So just try to put that in perspective. Now, the 3 to the 22. I had to ask. So I've watched it. The more I watch this, the more my opinion becomes closer to the middle, I think. Okay. The move, is it fair or foul? If I'm Joey Logano, I'm mad as shit. I was leading the race. I passed you clean. You come in there and dump me. Now, in fairness, Joey Logano has done that to plenty of people in the past.
Yes.
But so it is what it is. It's part of the sport. Do I love it as a driver and competitor? No. Do I love it as a fan? I mean, that 3 is kind of built off of that a little bit. So the part that gets hard is the next part. With Hamlin. With Hamlin, I like to believe that no one right rears someone on purpose. Now, I know that it's happened. We've seen it happen with, whether it be Chase Elliott, Bubba's had an incident with Larson. We've seen it with other people. I think this year, Holsavar did it with Burton under caution at Gateway. We've seen it. These things happen.
Right.
Emotions run high. I think if you don't have the Hamlin piece, nothing happens. I think
I would tend to agree with you,
to be honest. And I think it's a little closer than people would like to believe. The way the 11 was coming up and the 3. Now we have SMT data, which is data of what the steering wheel is doing, what the pedals are doing. We can really break down what you were doing in the race car. And the data showed that he was aggressive to the left at the point of contact with the 11. That one's tough. I don't like it, and I can't really – I'm not going to defend it, but I will say without the 11 part, I don't think the 22 part – reckon the 22 is enough to get kicked back out of the playoffs after the win and the fine. So.
Okay.
And I had to ask – I asked Kevin on the podcast this week. I'm like, I need somebody to explain to me car lengths, because I've watched the video of the 22 and the 3 a lot over and over. And I'm like, I don't think this is 4 car lengths like they say. I'm like, it really looks like 2.
2, yeah.
And if a car length is from the nose of the front car to the back of the second car, then that might be 4. But in my mind, car lengths is always
the gap
in between the 2 cars, and it looked more like 2. Still a Hail Mary throw, but I don't think it's as egregious.
If it's 2 car lengths, that's a lot closer. That's a lot closer.
4 is very far back.
Right. So I agree with you. I think car lengths, especially when you're talking about a spotter calling car lengths, you're talking about that's a very far distance away to have to see it. I think that's kind of a discretion thing. It's a kind of gray area.
Yeah, when I'm racing and my spotter's hey man, 1 car length back, I'm like, okay, he's pretty close. He's close. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's a gray area, bro. Gray area.
Yeah. So I will say I agree with you that I've been saying 3 and 4 car lengths because that's what drivers and crew members have been saying. When I look at it live, when I look at it on TV, it looked more like 2, maybe 2.5 to me. Looked a lot closer. And again, that's been part of racing for a very long time.
Forever. Yeah.
Every driver, I would argue, has tried to bump and run with somebody at some point. Maybe not to the point of wrecking them, But to the point of like bumping them and moving them out the way. Now you want to talk
Yeah.
about this next gen car being much more rigid than an older race car, so it doesn't kind of bend and fold where other car would have kind of crumpled a little bit and maybe just moved it instead of wrecking it. You can kind of batter, ram somebody better. That's different. That's a different conversation. I do believe that Austin Dillon had every intention of moving Joey Logano out his way. Like that was 100%. But I think that's still on the borderline of being a racing move.
Is it clean? No, it's not
no.
clean.
No.
Is it acceptable? Yeah. And like here's the thing. When you do something on any other field, any other court, any other whatever, if you know it's a little bit egregious, you got to be prepared for the repercussions.
Right.
And I think that's on each driver. Like if you're okay, if you can lay your head down at night and feel like what you did was justified, I mean, that's on you. But like the good Lord's going to come back. Like it all comes back around one way or another.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So you got to live with yourself. So if he can live with that, cool. And obviously like Logano and Hamlin have both been able to live fine with what they've done in the past. So, right. And I said on the podcast too this week, I said there's a little bit of Austin Dillon to those guys doesn't deserve to be there, and they didn't feel like I know that. Like,
yeah, like if that's Kyle Larson that makes that move,
different.
Right.
They think different about it, but like they're like, this 3's not supposed to be up here. He's not supposed to be with it. Like when the third stringer beats the starter, starter's feeling some type of way about that. Like,
that's on my list. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, and then even to the point of Hamlin, I do think he intentionally drove into Denny Hamlin. I don't think he intended to hook him. I just think with Denny's rate of speed at that point, and then the line he was taking through the turn, they just kind of met where they met. I think if he could have doored him and hit him in his door, he would have hit him in his door. I don't think he intended to hook him. It was just kind of circumstances as to, again, the rates of speed and, Austin coming down a little bit, then he coming up, they just kind of met right there. Just in it, what I mean? So while I do think there was intent there, it wasn't like he took a hard left and was like, what I mean? And,
I couldn't read the 3 down the door. You know what I mean? Like it's really tough because now we're like trying to decide if someone was, trying to do something egregious or not. And I will say like when cars meet like that, there's a reaction that you got to have, right? Like you got to decide if you're going to turn into the meat and not be the victim, or you know what I mean? Like it's it is.
Now I do think that had Austin Dillon and RCR not gone on this whole he didn't do anything campaign, it would have been a little bit differently. But the fact that they flat out vehemently deny anything being said on the radio, denying any intent, it was first of all, the first thing he said when he got out of the car was, "I did what I had to do." Like that's the first thing he said, and then they is almost an admission of guilt, and then they continue to deny everything. It's like, listen, I did what I had to do. I tried to bump Denny. We just kind of met at the wrong spot. Didn't mean to hook him. I apologize for it, but I did. If that's the statement fresh out of the car, it maybe goes a little bit differently.
Yeah, and let me give Austin Dillon his flowers for 401 laps. He ran the best race of his entire life. So like that's one thing I hate the whole situation. I hate this for him for that because that was a legitimate win. He went up there, he passed Denny Hamlin, he passed Joey Logano, and because Ricky Stenhouse and Ryan Preece messed up down in turn 1, the caution cut. But that's racing, you know what I mean? But so he had already in his mind, he's like, I'm going to win this race. Like, I should win this race. And then his pit crew had the fastest average of a day all time. They were great, solid, and put him out back in front, and he loses the lead on the restart, bro. Yeah. And like, he was just like, I'm not losing this race. Like,
I get it. I get it. I do get it. I swear I get it.
I get it.
Like it's like so. Like again, I coach high school football now, and in high school, a pass interference penalty is 15 yards, right? I told a kid yesterday, listen, if a receiver runs past you, grab him, I will take the 15 over the 6. Take that 15. What we not gonna do is lose on this play. That's what's not gonna happen. We've been winning this game. What we are not gonna do on the last drive of this game with the game on the line and just let him run past. That's not what's gonna happen. And that's kind of where his mind was at. It's like Bubba Wallace said it perfectly off the car. He was like, I was fully prepared to go shake his hand, and he deserved to win that race. I was fully prepared to, hey, great job. You ran the race of your life that day. You deserved to win that race. And then just with the last 2 laps, it's like
it's literally the last. We're talking like
not even,
I don't know, 40 yards maybe.
Yeah, not even the last 2 laps. It's like
this one section of racetrack, just like,
yeah.
But we're talking about. It was on ESPN, USA Today. Like
right.
it was everywhere. So like that's a good thing. Like we need that to grow the sport because that's one thing you're not going to get in F1.
Right.
Or you're not going to get that contact. And that's what gets people really, fired up. So thanks, Austin, for putting us in the news.
It was a great moment. He
still got the trophy.
He got a trophy and he got his money.
Yeah.
And I mean, Daytona is the biggest wild card race of them all. So who knows? I mean,
I picked him to win. I picked him to win this week because I want all the drama for him to get kicked out and then have 2 wins on the season and get back in. Like
if they win at Daytona, that celebration is gonna be.
If they win in Daytona, they are going to go dummy. I mean, it is going to be the biggest, like Marshawn Lynch jumping into the end zone, touchdown, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be wild.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
They're coming out of turn 4 on the last lap.
Yep.
And Kyle Busch is pushing Austin Dillon 1 and 2. What happens?
I don't know, man. I don't know. In my brain. Okay. Because I gotta. So they're pushing each other 1 and 2. Are they just 1-2, or if he's got to push the 3 by somebody, he's gonna stay with the 3 to push him all the way there. If he pushes him out and he can make a move just on the 3 to where one of those 2 guys are gonna win regardless, he'll make the move.
He's jumping.
Yeah, that like there's a little bit of nuance in it because you need the company to win. Right. So that does matter. Like, and we've seen it go the other way with Ryan and Austin Cindric. Ryan pushed the 2 out, made a move on him. The 2 blocked him in the fence. All hell, Daytona 500 champion.
All hell breaks loose as it does at Daytona. So but back to Austin Dillon, you said you didn't think the penalty was 100% warranted. As far as taking this playoff eligibility.
No. I think it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
I think it was right because you have to do something, or else you can't let the convicts run the prison.
Right.
And like even though I want them to police themselves.
There's a very fine line.
They're also getting to a point where like the disrespect in the racecraft, they don't care. So you got to remind them, hey, you can win this way if you want to, but you ain't going to advance this way. And I like that because as the drivers, you're putting NASCAR and the officials in a position to make a decision. Right. And it's, again, take away the Denny Hamlin thing. He ain't getting kicked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I just think, like you said, you don't want to be in a situation where, you're in Phoenix in the last race and it turns into bumper cars and demolition derby and guys just wreck. I mean, we saw it kind of with the truck race in Phoenix last year where it was just, all hell breaking loose.
I don't know what would happen. Honestly, I'm not sure. We haven't quite had 2 cars racing on the last lap for the championship.
Yeah,
I would love to see it because I'm not sure how that would end. Because I guarantee you, if Denny Hamlin is one of those 2 cars, he is putting that other guy in the. It is not going to be a straight up race.
He may find a constructive way to do it, but yeah, like for the championship, any other race, the championship that I have yet to earn in my career. No. You going that way.
Which is basically the exact situation Austin Dillon was in. He's like, we've been running like terrible all year. This is my maybe my one chance to get a win this season. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to do it.
Right.
Denny, hey my guy.
Hey.
Well, maybe your one chance to win a championship. You running through that guy in front of you or not? Guaranteed.
So to that point, if you could change anything about the current playoff eligibility system, if you could change anything, what would you change about it?
I've told people that I thought that if you win the regular season, it should either advance you all the way to I'm fine with it advancing all the way to the Phoenix.
Final four.
Yeah, because first of all, and I'm fine with extending it to 5 instead of 4. Because first of all, our stat line goes wins, top 5s, top 10s, top 15s. We don't do top 4. Like that's not a stat.
Right.
So it makes more sense to me anyway to have it be 5. And what's the difference if it's 5 versus 4? Like, what's that really do? Nothing.
I think
really.
It actually provides a little more intrigue. One more car that has a chance to do something.
Yeah, and that team that won the regular season, now the regular season really matters.
Right.
Like you're in the driver's seat. And it's interesting because if you get to go all the way to Phoenix, you still got to run the 10 races throughout the playoffs. So are you going to be hitting on all cylinders, or are you not going to be locked in? Like that's a whole different game you got to play. And I kind of like that. Like I kind of like that added thing. Like you know, and then you got to think, how are you going to race everybody? Like because you're already in.
Right.
So how aggressive are you going to be? Because then you got to deal with them in Phoenix.
And you might need somebody's help. You don't want to piss off the wrong person. And then
I would love that. I think it would do 2 things. It'd give the core fans what they want with like long-term points and like points accumulation.
It kind of makes the regular season mean something long-term.
Yeah, you're really winning something other than just a couple points. And if it was just like a couple rounds, I'm cool with that too. But I have no problem with it going all the way to Phoenix. And then the final 4 of the playoffs making it too. I honestly think that'd be cool. So
that's actually, I never thought of that, but that's actually that's a great idea. I feel like when you have 6 wild card races on the schedule and then a handful of road courses that, you know, road course racing is probably as good as it's been in a very long time because everybody can do it now.
Everyone's good now. Yeah,
everybody's good now. But like when you look at, you know, 2 races at Daytona, 2 races at Talladega, 2 races at Atlanta, which for the time being runs like a super speedway, that's like 6 wild card races. I think granting automatic playoff eligibility for somebody is tough because like you have, well, Austin Dillon's now out, but like with all the respect to guys like Austin Cindric and Daniel Suarez, like based just on without that win on points, I don't think either of them will be close to making the playoffs right now. Like, you know, Daniel Suarez had a great run at Atlanta. He won the race, which Ryan Blaney could have easily. I thought Ryan Blaney won it in real time. I was at the race. I thought he won it in real time.
Kyle Busch could have won it. I mean,
my bad. So like that is giving granting automatic eligibility for 1 win. Like you can win the Daytona 500 and then run terribly from Daytona to Darlington, from Atlanta to Darlington. You're terrible, more or less. And then not saying that that's what happened with them, but saying you can do it, and then you're a playoff driver, and you know you're like 33rd in points though. Outside of your win, you would be nowhere near the top 16. Yeah, like now I'm not saying. I know at one point it was you had to be within the top 30 for the count.
And I kind of wish we still had that. I don't know what the conversations were to make that change, but if we did still have it, then you only would have had to dock Austin Dillon points that would have kicked him back outside the top 30, and then they would have had to work their way back in on merit. And that, you know what I mean? Like it gives a different conversation. Like it would have changed the entire conversation in the way that they had to do the penalty.
Right.
And I think that would have been better on the NASCAR end, just from the optics, right? It's like, all right, we're not pulling this away from you, but you did something wrong. We're finding you points and money. Oh, it turns out you're back outside the top 30, so you got to race your way back in.
Yeah. And I mean, it may even change the move in that moment because you can't just get 1 win and automatically be guaranteed to the playoffs. So you kind of got to make sure, like, if the reason he did that is because of the system is if I win this race, I'm in the playoffs.
He's in.
Yeah. Automatically in.
I mean, you say that, but like,
I mean, I think at a certain point, like your racing instinct takes over. It's like you know what I mean.
I have a chance to win, and I mean the old system guys used to do that all the time, but they'd run through each other, you know, the other system too. So I kind of think, I don't know, like you see it on short track racing, like late model racing, them boys will do it to the, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, but to answer your question, yeah, that's the only thing that would change is that automatic bid. And the 30. I do like the 30. I think the 30 keeps it within parameters.
I think they may, and you would have far greater knowledge than I will, but I think they may kind of toy with it, at least have conversations about it moving forward in the offseason, just, you know, kind of minimize that a little bit. Because you do, you know, you have guys, like I said, you have 6 wild card races, you know what I mean? And at this point, you have, as long as you have a charter, you're playoff eligible, right?
Yeah, well, as long as you run all year.
All year, okay.
Playoffs. So even if you don't have a charter, if you run all year and you win a race, which, I mean, any team that can win for the most part has a charter. But like if you were able to somehow pull that rabbit out of the hat, then yeah, man, you're in.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, I'm cool with it. I just, you know, I think there are things that can be changed to kind of make it better.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not necessarily.
I think we're to like small changes. It's not that crazy.
Yeah. Like, I think the days of somebody having the championship locked up with 4 races left to go in the season, that's over. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is, for your listeners, this is why we're here, because there was a time where people were winning the championship by just starting the last race, or they had it locked up a couple races before. One time in the Xfinity Series, Kevin Harvick won the championship at Charlotte. I'll never forget that. He won it from Charlotte. And I'm like, which is in October, and we run till November. I was like, what? So I never want to see that again. Yeah. Like I never want to. It devalues
the last everything. 3 or 4 races don't mean anything.
Yeah, it devalues everything. And I saw someone allegedly, I didn't check the math or anything, but allegedly someone posted, if we had the old system where the points would be right now, before Reddick won this past weekend. So Reddick would have been up 43 points on Chase Elliott. Guess who is going to be in third and how many points back they were?
In third, I'm trying to think of who's been consistent all year. Like, I want to say Bubba, but I don't think that's right.
Third would have been Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
And take a guess at how many points back.
How many points back was second?
43.
Shit, so like in the 70s somewhere?
234. Or 243 or something like that. Damn. Like I just simply do not want that.
Yeah. So yeah. And you can't like from imagine watching football and the Super Bowl champion is crowned in
the AFC title game. On the AFC title game.
Like it's like, so what are we watching this game for? like they gotta play it, but like we know who won. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like there's no intrigue. There's really no reason to watch it other than just to watch the race itself.
Just to enjoy racing itself.
Yeah, which
you know what I mean?
I would do, but it's not like I don't really have much of a vested interest in you know what I mean? Like
storylines are all run out.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you know.
So yeah, I think I understand why the current system was implemented. And I mean it's changed over the years. It started with the chase.
Yeah, it started with the chase.
Yeah, so it's changed over the years. I just think it needs another little small tweak.
The next week is gonna be in 2025. We have what they're calling an in-season tournament. Thank you, Denny Hamlin, by the way. Yeah, which is gonna be pretty cool. I'm excited about that to see how that works. It'll be, you know, head-to-head matchups. It'll be interesting to see how people race, because you'll race differently because you're racing against everybody. But you're also trying to get that. You're trying to get that extra money and move on. So maybe, you know, as long it's going to change a lot of things. It'll be highly intriguing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. Again, thank you, Denny, for kind of starting that on the Action Detrimental podcast. Yeah, it should be fun. So I want to put you on the spot real quick.
Come on.
So I know that you are, we were just talking about the playoff system and eligibility and all that kind of stuff. I know that you are close with Bubba Wallace, right? Very close with Bubba.
Yep.
Going into Daytona, which is although it's a wild card race, Bubba always runs well at super speedway. He's a great super speedway driver.
Yes, he is.
Do you see? And he's currently 3 points below the cut line right now.
I think that's how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's below the cut line. Right now he's outside of the playoffs and needs either. He has 2 races to either point his way in or win a race and get to the playoffs. Right. As it currently stands, that could change on lap 1 next week if somebody in the top 16 on the bubble wrecks in turn 1. Like that can easily change. But assuming everybody runs well and finishes all the races, everybody in that top 17, 18 runs well and finishes races. Do you see Bubba making the playoffs either on points or with the win, with Daytona and Darlington being the last 2 races?
Looking at who he is competing against, we're talking about the 17 of Chris Buescher, who almost won Darlington last in the spring. Mm-hmm. It was probably should have, and then him and Reddick got together and cut his tire down.
Racing, yep.
Yeah.
I was at that race too.
Yeah. Ross Chastain is also good at Darlington. That's the other one that he's racing against. So it'll be a dogfight, I think, between all 3 of them. Out of the 3, Bubba's had the most speed consistently all year.
I think Bubba could have possibly won this past weekend had he not gotten caught up in that.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. It was a really bad deal. So I think he's gonna be fine. I think he'll be in. If he wins this weekend, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Mm-hmm. They're very strong also because we are plate racing. We are, super speedway racing. He's in a good situation because there's so many other Toyotas already in the playoffs. Right. That he should, theoretically, you would think he would be one of the guys that you'd want to help more. I think Martin Truex Jr. has the most points to the cutoff line. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is Gibbs. And they have a pretty substantial gap. So pretty much if they get through Daytona, just with decent days, and let's say Bubba wins Daytona, I'm pretty sure they're all but locked in.
Yeah, I think Truex is pretty much good. Ty Gibbs, right there on the border, but I think as long as, like you said, as long as Truex and Gibbs both finish the races, they
should be fine. They'll probably, honestly, because what they'll do is by the time they get to Darlington, they'll points race for the first 2 stages, try to get max out points and lock themselves in or be very close to where they only need to finish in the top 30. And then they'll be all set. So yeah, I think Bubba's in a good spot, man. I like his mindset. He's really locked in right now too. They've been running really, really well. And unfortunately, it seems like it hasn't mattered. No matter how well they've been running, it just doesn't matter. I mean, he finished, 3rd or 4th at Richmond, but the guy who won, I mean, it didn't matter in the long run, right? But the guy who won
initially, the guy who won,
which really, and then this weekend at Michigan, Chris Buescher was in that same wreck that Bubba was in.
He recovered.
He was able to recover which was crazy because it looked like it knocked the splitter off the front end. Right. Bubba's car was way more damaged than Chris's was. He wasn't able to recover the same way. But then, bad fortune for Ross Chastain, unlike the last restart, he gets spun out. He was 16 to the good. Now he ended up being 1 or 2 to the good, 3 to the good, or whatever you just said. So everyone's very close. It's a very close battle. There's three guys going for 2 spots. So
basically, and listen, Bubba has might have the worst luck in the Cup Series. Whether it's something that happens earlier in the season, he was having problems on pit road. In the middle of the season, he would put good runs together and get caught up in somebody else's mess on the track or on pit road. His luck is even when he has great cars, he somehow ends up in the middle of the pack and ends up into somebody's mess. And I hate it for him, but I like Bubba. Every time I've met Bubba, he's been dope. I had to tell the story that at Richmond a few years ago, I was in the fan ground area at Richmond, and a lady just randomly mentioned to him that it was my birthday, which it was, but she mentioned to him that it was my birthday, and he stopped and had a whole conversation with me, wished me happy birthday and all that stuff. And that in that moment, most drivers they take pictures and sign stuff on the move. Like
Mhm.
they'd sign in, taking pictures onto the net. So like he actually like stopped walking, stopped signing, actually talked to me for a second. He signed my hat, which is actually a Hendrick Motorsports hat, but it's it was just wild. But you know what I mean, like. Yeah, so I always tell people that story. Like Bubba's always cool every time I've met him. I know he gets a bad rap, for Bubba's a cool dude. Like Bubba's a cool dude, and a lot of people just have a bad perception of him for whatever reason. I think his personality is definitely, I think, taking a little bit of a change since he finally had a kid on the way.
Yeah.
Which congratulations to them and all of that.
That happened with Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch too. Like they had a different type of persona, and then they had a kid, and like I don't know, everything just kind of changes because what's important changes. Like
right.
Having a kid, like racing's important, but like my kids, that's the most important.
Yeah, so I think Bubba is, like I said, his luck is terrible, but I hope he can put something together these next 2 races and point his way in. No disrespect to Ross Chastain or Chris Buescher. I haven't met either one of those guys. I'm sure they're great guys, but Bubba's a cool dude.
Yeah.
So if you had to predict a Final Four right now, again, I know we got guys fighting for playoff spots, but if you had to predict the Final Four at Phoenix right now, who do you think your Final Four would be, and then who do you ultimately think will be the 2024 Cup Series champion?
My Final Four is gonna be the 12 of Ryan Blaney. I think the 5 of Kyle Larson again. Reddick feels right. Mm-hmm. Tyler Reddick feels right. He's been running strong, currently leading the regular season points, just come off a win at Michigan. At the beginning of the season, I would have told you William Byron. Yeah, they just have fallen off this summer. I don't know. I mean, they ran good this past weekend, finished second. So hopefully that's turning the corner back for Willie B and Rudy and those boys. They have everything they need to go be great. I just don't know where the miss is right now. So hopefully they can turn it back on for the playoffs. So that's man, I'm gotta think, who would my last guy be? It's hard not to say Chase, because Chase has been like quietly having a really, really solid year. He's been up in the top like 4 or 5 in points all season.
Yeah, I think Chase is also one of maybe 2 guys that don't have a DNF this season, if I'm not mistaken. I think Chase has finished every race.
So he's been really good. Would that be 4? If I said Chase, that'd be 4, right?
Yeah, that'd be 4.
That means 1 Ford, 1 Toyota, 2 Chevrolets. Yeah, that feels about right. And I think if the 12, I do think the 12 is going to end up ultimately win the championship. I think he's going to go back to back. We haven't had a back-to-back champion since Jimmy Johnson and when he was ripping them off. So
I think Ford just run well at Phoenix too. That's just they seem to put it together for some reason.
The Penske Fords for sure.
Yeah.
The Penske Fords for sure run good at Phoenix. If he can get to Phoenix, it was like Larson back in the day. Like we always thought if Larson could get to Homestead in the final race, it was over because he was going to rip the top and see you later.
Yeah.
And Blaney's kind of been that at Phoenix. Ross Chastain did win Phoenix in the fall last year. So that is something. But they got a long way to go before they can look at Phoenix. So I'm hanging my hat on 12.
Yeah. I'm a Chase Elliott fan. If I had to pick like a driver.
Yeah.
But I can't really poke any holes in your Final Four. I think Blaney will make it. I think Denny Hamlin will make it. I wouldn't be surprised if like a Christopher Bell made it, but just for whatever reason, they just don't seem to have the speed at Phoenix at the end of the year. Like Denny.
Something always happens to C. Bell at Phoenix. Like I think 2 years ago, because he wasn't been in the Final Four the last 2 years. Yeah. 2 years ago, I think it was coming down pit road. They had a bad pit stop at the end. Last year, I think a brake failure and he knocked down the fence or something like that. Like something always happens to Christopher Bell.
Now, I mean, I think if you expanded it to where it wasn't just one race to win it all, I think you have a much better argument for like a Denny Hamlin or Christopher Bell. Yeah. But just like a one race shootout, it's hard to bet against like a Ryan Blaney or a Kyle Larson. Like those guys. Like I think Kyle Larson is the best driver in maybe the world, like certainly in North America. Like
I listen. If you look at my socials, we were in it this week because I've been saying for a couple years I think Kyle Larson is the best driver on the planet right now. Now, that being said, there's two guys and this is based off of diversity of disciplines of driving race cars. Like
Yeah.
I've visibly seen him every time he gets in something, no matter what it is, be towards the top of the board all the time. So like, so this is no disrespect to anybody else. And people think I'm disrespecting Verstappen. I'm not disrespecting Max. I think Max is great at what he does, but literally it's just that one thing. So I would say if you put Larson, Scotty McLaughlin from IndyCar, who came over from V8 Supercar, Max Verstappen and SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, all in cars, and let them run different cars, people will get their feelings hurt.
Yeah,
like
100%.
The people from overseas, y'all gonna get your feelings hurt because
I mean, cup drivers don't get the credit they deserve on an international level. But I pretty much agree with you. And again, Kyle Larson can win in anything. Like he literally, whether it's a truck, a Cup Series car,
sprint cars,
like
I think he won a Rolex once, in
like
the Rolex Daytona 24. Like, bro, like, and Scotty Mack and SVG are dogs too. They're like that too. Like, I think when you talk about different disciplines and overall rankings, that's how I decide who's the best.
And then as SVG is kind of learning, like in real time, like driving on oval is way different than driving on a road course.
And he's picked it up way faster than I thought he would. I gotta give him so much respect. I thought he would be good. Like, I'm like, yeah, he'll be good. He'll figure it out year two. He figured it out so fast that they got to look at putting him in a Cup car next year.
Yeah, listen.
Like, that's how good he's been. That's how fast he's picked it up. Like,
that kind of Spire Trackhouse pipeline is flooded right now. They have more drivers than they have seats. I don't know what they're going to do over there, but
tough.
Yeah, somebody's going to be stuck in Xfinity for a while just because, you know what I mean? Like, or have to leave and go elsewhere.
There's just the dominoes have been – the dominoes left to fall. There's some, but there's not as many as there was.
Yeah, and I think they kind of set it up. They had a plan for it, and their plan, like, damn, they're better than we thought they were. Like, you know what I mean? It was like
that's really what I think. I agree. That's really what I think is happening.
Because I think if you do, because Michael McDowell's going to Spire next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's an added domino. You kind of added him to the front of the line. You already got this pipeline behind him, and
he's McDowell's like the anchor now. Well, Holsevar is probably he's your young thoroughbred. Right. SVG's gonna be somewhere else. I don't know where. I don't know how that's gonna work out. If SHR ends up selling a charter to Trackhouse, that could be it. But they haven't nothing's been official. Yeah. So, man, but now you got
Trackhouse just on Connor Zilic.
Yeah, and he's over at JRM. You got AJ Allmendinger going back to the Cup Series with Colleague. So
I forgot all about the Colleague part of it. Yeah. So
there's a lot going on still, man. I'm excited. I'm watching. I'm excited.
I don't know how they're going to sort it out. So okay, I want to have a little bit of fun before we get up out of here.
Yeah, man.
Now just scrolling through I know you're chilling right now, but like just scrolling through your social media. You know what I mean? Like you are, I would consider one of the best dressed guys in the garage area. And I, like I said earlier, I've unfortunately created this thing for myself that people have now bought into, where I am the game day drip guy. Like when we talk about football and going to games and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's very unfortunate. I would just love to wear a pair of sweats or something to games. It's not gonna happen ever again. My supporters, my viewers and followers would not let me let you go without asking, like, what's MambaSmith's go-to shoe?
Hang on one second. I might have them over here. Okay. So I got mad love for MJ, and I love that Michael Jordan is in NASCAR, and the Jumpman brand is all over NASCAR. That being said, I don't love spending money on clothes.
Agree.
And their shoes are more expensive than I really like to get into. And then then like you got to keep them up and take care of them at a higher level because you spent more money.
More money on them.
It becomes this whole game, and I personally don't want to play it. I rock Pumas.
Which I noticed.
Yeah, I rock a lot of Pumas. They look, oftentimes people think that they're Jordans or Nikes because they have a lot of the same color waves and stuff. I always go with the high top because I just feel better in it. I think they look cooler.
Yeah, I see like all white of those too. I think I saw.
Yeah, I bought last year. I bought 8 pairs of this style of shoe in different colors. I haven't bought any this year, so and now my soles are flattened out. So I need to go off and get some new shoes. But this is probably my favorite one because it goes with so many different outfits. The brown and the white just make it work really well. So I go with the Pumas.
So I will say again, I have a way more shoes than any person needs. To the point that if I started January 1st and wore a different pair of shoes every day, I could probably make it to the summertime before I had to repeat a pair of shoes. Is bad,
brother. That's like 100 and okay, all right.
In my defense, I did spend a long time working at a retail store, and then after the retail store, I spent a long time working for a specific brand.
Right.
So I was able to get my hands on a lot of stuff for very, very cheap. So
it's called the hookup.
Right. I wasn't paying top dollar,
right?
Above top dollar for all of them. And I've worn a size 13s is the 10th or 11th grade. So some of it is just accumulation over time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. I have a problem. I don't have a shoe problem, but I have a suit problem. So I love suits. I love having a nice suit.
Oh yeah, I mean so this is the thing. I pride myself on being able to dress for any occasion comfortably. Some people they may own suits, but they don't really like to dress up, or they have to dress up for work, but they don't really know how to dress down. I can dress comfortably for any. If you see me at races, I'll wear Jordans and stuff like that to races, and you know what I mean. Again, it's a brand thing at this point, but that's just how I dress. But I love the opportunity to put a suit on and I have dress shoes and all that kind of stuff too. And I also love Pumas. Don't get me wrong, I'm not brand specific. I know we see the boxes and all that stuff behind me, but on the other side, it's Pumas and all other kind of stuff over there too. But yeah, I love being able to dress up and especially when people don't get to see me like that very often. When I do step outside and I have that,
I love to show.
Man, listen.
You get the haircut, I get my hair rebraided. I'll do get a manicure, pedicure, do all the things, and then show up to the banquet. Every year at the banquet, I have a new suit for my boy Stitch by Mitch. He does a great job. That's my guilty pleasure. Is every year for the banquet, I'll come with a new piece, and really try to show the drivers how to dress because their wives are always like, "Look how nice he looks. Why didn't you get something like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Why didn't you get something like that?"
Understood. I want to do one more thing before we get out of here. Basically, a would you rather thing. I'm gonna just ask you, would you rather? I'm gonna give you 2, maybe 3 options. You kind of answer one of them already, so I'm not gonna ask you that one. Well, actually, I'm gonna remix it a little bit. So, play would you rather real quick. Just 5 questions with MambaSmith. Well, a few questions with MambaSmith. So, what do you prefer, pre-race or post-race?
Pre-race.
So you get the
pre-race as a fan. Post-race victory as a competitor,
as a driver.
Fair
enough. So I know you have hats. You like to wear. So we going fedora or snapback.
Probably on average on day-to-days it's a snapback.
Okay.
The fedora is a specific setting, situation. I do have a couple. Love to wear them, but I got to be in the right type of environment for it.
Got you. So I got to remix this one because you just said that you love to throw suits on. So let me remix it. Jeans and a t-shirt or fire suit?
Oh man, that's tough. I'm gonna go with the fire suit. I love a fire suit that looks really good. Has my partner's brands on it. I've always loved that customness, like basketball jerseys. I've always got like, I don't get like Celtic players. I get like my name, a number, and like like I've always loved that since a kid. Way back, you remember East Bay, all the East Bay stuff. Like you get it. Like that was that. So I'd rather do that. And just I have a gold fire suit that when I was partners with Truly, that thing, when I brought it out, ain't no one ever seen a gold fire suit like that before. That thing was fire.
Yeah, if I had the opportunity to put together like a fire suit, helmet, paint scheme, like if I could do that, man, listen to me.
Bro, I had a custom Kobe helmet. I gave it to Shaq last year.
That's dope.
I had a custom Kobe. I felt like I used it for my first ever ARCA series race. And it didn't really fit that well, so I like wasn't going to use it again. But I was like, man, instead of it being on my shelf, I wanted to go to somebody that could really appreciate like what this means. It was either going to Shaq or Vanessa Bryant and the family. It was one or the other. And so I had a chance to meet Shaq, and I gave it to him. So
you used to have like long hair at one point, right?
Yeah, I had, man, I've switched up my style like multiple times because I get bored with it. So,
I get it. Unfortunately, I'm a member of the Ball Brothers Society at this point.
Listen, man, we all end up in the same place. I think I started with when I was like 2014, 13, 14. I started growing a high top. So I had a high top fade that was like 6 inches high. Yeah, it was high. And then I got sick of that after a few years. And then I didn't know what to do. Like getting a haircut every 2 weeks, like gets expensive nowadays. Like in this economy, like, bro, like what are we talking about? So
that's part of why I shaved my head, bro. I'm not paying $50 for a haircut every 2 weeks. I'm not
every 2 weeks
doing that, man.
So then I went to locks. So I had dreads for 2 years. Just something different. And then I started getting bored with it. So I put like blonde a couple strips in blonde. And then I bleached like a couple more. And like then half my head was like blonde. Which was just different. I was like, screw it, let's do it. And now I'm in my braid era. And the braids I really rock with because every time I go see my girl, it's different every time I walk. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, you just decide. Like, I don't really care. Just make it look cool, make it look different.
It look neat, and
yeah, make it look clean. Because, as a black man speaking on this sport, I really want to make sure I'm representing us well.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking well. I know that it matters. I know that it matters when I did it with locks because people aren't used to seeing people like us. Right. So the platform that I'm on is putting us on.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to make sure I'm doing it in a way that shows that we're more than what people might think that we are.
For sure.
Even though our style might look different and all these things, but that has nothing to do with the character of the person. That's just how I express myself.
Right.
So
for sure.
I think it's important. And then people that look like us to see that, oh, that dude has locks or braids and he's talking about that. Maybe I'll go check it out. Like it matters on a whole lot.
It's the same with me. Like I said, when I go to the track, you know what I mean? Like, again, I know how to talk and how to handle myself, obviously, but like, when I go to the tracks, I'm wearing my snapbacks. I have my earrings on and my chain and, you know what I mean? My Jordans, my tattoos out, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still me very much. Like, I love this thing. Like I have a Jeff Gordon diecast like right here. Like, you know what I mean? Like I love NASCAR. I am not a new fan. I'm not a newbie. I'm not here for the moment. Like this is a thing for me. Like this is 100% a thing for me. But I'm still unapologetically me though. Like, and I'm not gonna. And again, like I went to school in Kentucky. I listen to country music. I do things that would be deemed as trying to fit in. No, that's just who I am. You know what I mean? But I want to make sure that it is known for certain. This is who I am. This is NASCAR is something I like to do. It's something I love and enjoy, but it is not, I'm not doing this to fit in by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I completely, and before I know you're trying to wrap up, but for me in my entire life, it's been ebbs and flows. Right. Like growing up in Vermont, I'm the only person that looked like me.
Right. That
was like basically in my school. Like I think there was like 4 or 5 black kids. Like, I was one of the only people in my town that raced. So I think between being adopted and being the only one that looked like me, being different that way, and then being different because I raced. I think those things came together because I was already different. Now I'm someone who looks different, doing something that's different than everyone else is doing as well.
Right.
So like I think that's where me and racing really like got together. And then moving down here, it was a culture shock. You know what I mean? Like I went from being like the black guy to just another black guy.
Right.
A black guy, you know what I mean? So that's very different at 18.
Right.
And now I have to, and there's no like real black culture in Vermont. So I'm like learning and teaching myself
Right.
what it is and how the nuances is and cultural things. And it's given me a lot of great perspective from both ends. And I'm able to do this thing down the middle that I really appreciate and be able to speak to both sides and move conversations along. But it took a while to really find myself and be comfortable with myself, because people, you know, Uncle Tom or give me your black because you're in NASCAR. There's no black people that, like it's a lot. So like,
absolutely.
And you'll understand this too. Like when you're getting like shade or hate from the people that look like you, while you're also trying to prove to the people that don't look like you why you are here in the first place, like you're kind of getting it from both ends, and it just like it's a lot of pressure, but pressure creates diamonds. So we're living a great life.
Yeah, I mean, like even when I'm at the track, like we know what the majority of a NASCAR fan base is, and like when I'm at the tracks, you know, dressing how I dress, looking how I look, having conversations with people that don't look like me. It doesn't take them very long to realize, oh, like he really know what, like he's for real, like, you know what I mean, like, you know, and you can attest to this, like the kind of the pride that you can kind of have when you walk up and down pit road, and you know, through different series where you have a Bubba Wallace, you have a Rajah Caruth, you have a LeVar Scott, you know, you have even E-Racing, like iRacing, you know, Malik Ray and guys like Kwame Scott, guys like that. Like not just that, but when you walk up and down pit road, you have, you know, Phil Horton and what they do with the NASCAR development program, and the Brianna Daniels, who's a black woman who works on the pit crew, and just walking up and down pit road, you see these guys that look like you and I, where 10, 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. You know what I mean? There was a lot of more or less, you know, middle-aged white guys. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the thing.
When I got here, bro, when me and Bubba got here, there was nobody to tell us how to do this thing.
Right. Like
we were on our own trying to make this wave. And when I left and then came back to the sport and seeing how much it grew, I took a lot of pride in that. I'm like, this is we're doing something now. Like where you see it. Right. I saw it in Richmond. I want Richmond to become our urban track. Like I want it to be.
Yeah, Richmond was like, and again, this was I think my third or fourth time going to Richmond in the year consecutive. Mm-hmm. This was by far the most like I've seen people that looked like us, you know, and not just there because somebody invited them, but there because they enjoy it. They want to be there. Like they are there. You know what I mean? And that's, like I said, that's dope. You know, for me to, like I said, I saw Rajah the day after his race. He's wearing his fire suit, and I'm wearing a Rajah Caruth t-shirt. And I walk back through the fan ground area from the garage, and people are seeing me with my shirt on, and I have people run up to me like, "Yo, I met Rajah too." Like, bro, it's
what you just said is so important and a great way to end this and let everyone understand this. When the people that are there that don't look like us are also excited that we are there.
Yes, 100%.
It's not what people think. They want us to be there, and they want to teach us because they want us to enjoy something that they enjoy because they enjoy stuff that we enjoy. And like, it's a community coming together, and there's a lot of love, man. There's a lot of love, and just get out to a racetrack. The fan base is, don't let social media fool you into thinking it's something it's not. The people at track, that's real, and it's real love.
I've never had a problem. I do have friends that have gone to races, and they said they've had, you know, issues like that, but like I've personally never had a problem. And again, to the people who look like us and don't like NASCAR, don't understand the allure or whatever, for us, it's like let's use me, right? I'm from Washington, D.C., like a major city, a major urban city at that. Half the city is running around driving Camaros and Chargers and Mustangs. What do you think those cars are like? What do you okay? All right, I get it. I understand. Like that, everything you like is right here. Like, you know what I mean? Like you love big, fast, loud cars. Those just have numbers on them. Like,
yeah, there's a whole series that does that. You love wearing Letterman jackets. We got it. Like big brands. Like
we love wearing hats and stuff like that. You can't find a NASCAR driver that's not wearing a hat. So if he don't have his helmet on, like, you know what I mean? Like it's the things that we are drawn to in a lot of ways are embedded. We even have Jordan Brand as a primary, not just a primary sponsor, but an owner.
And Pitbull, bro.
And Pitbull. Like, and it's only a matter of time before we get, black crew chief and, more, more black, more, not just black, but more diversity within NASCAR. Yeah. But I had two more questions before we go. I'm just curious. No, we get. I can do this all day, but I know you got stuff to do and all that. I mean, so as somebody, I've never won a race. I've never. It's a dream of mine to drive a stock car, and I'm gonna make that happen. But even if it's just a NASCAR racing experience. But as somebody who has driven cars and won races, donuts or burnout?
I've never done them.
Oh man, we got to get you. We got to get you.
I've done burnouts and donuts in Dodge Hellcats, Chargers and Challengers. Never done one after a race.
In a race car, okay.
Because I always own my equipment.
You're not trying to tear your stuff up.
I ain't trying to tear that thing up.
Ryan Blaney said, I understand.
Yeah, a little bit. And then after me and him talked about it, it's even more so. Like, and honestly, Tony Stewart, like I said before, is my favorite driver. He would do a fence climb,
right? So
like that was kind of more down the road. I wanted to do something different. So I do love a good burnout, though. I do love a good burnout.
All right, and last thing, this is not a this or that. I'm just curious. With everything that you do in NASCAR, outside of NASCAR, who is the coolest person you've met doing your job? Any of your jobs, but I mean. I know you've met a lot of people. Like, yeah,
the coolest person I've met.
It can be cool as in personality or cool as in I will say.
Yeah, I will say. One thing was the best job that I ever felt like the job that I've done. I used to help train nurses. That was the most fulfilling job that I've ever had. Because I felt like it was helping for a bigger purpose. Okay. I was helping these people that were gonna go on to help a lot of people. That industry and that field of work it made me feel the best. The person I've met, man, I will say it's hard, and he's on my mind right now because I just saw him at Richmond. Chico Bean was out at Richmond.
I got a picture of Chico. I met Chico.
I met Chico 2 years ago before he even had really. Before him and Raja had linked up, and I met him on a plane, and we ended up sitting next to each other, bro. We talked like almost a whole flight, and just about life and about stuff. Chico Bean is a real cat, and I did not realize he'd been in the gym like he had been. My dog is stout, like he's stout.
Chico is also from DC, so. I got to hang out on Sunday. I got to hang out with Chico and Raj for a minute. We got all three of us got a picture of all of us being from DC. He's definitely I told him I was from. I have a DC tattoo, so I happen to coach football at the high school he graduated from in DC now, and so like we had just being able to talk. He's definitely like a cool dude.
The other person that I would the two honorable mentions. One is Paige Sporonic. She's a golf. She used to be a pro golfer. Now like a golf influencer. Super nice, super cool. We're hanging out in Daytona. She's gonna be a part of the vlog. Yeah. And then John Daly, the golfer, John Daly. That boy is cool. John Daly.
Yeah. John
bro,
Daly's probably different.
Me and John Daly got a picture. He was smoking a cigarette. I had a cigar, and it looked like, bro, it's on my Instagram. It was just like John Daly's like, he remembered me from the year prior at this same event, and like we hit up. He's cool as hell.
Dope. So for me, I think, and this also happened at Richmond for me. Being from DC, being a lifelong Redskins commander, Washington football fan.
Last year. Did you meet Vernon?
So I've met Vernon before.
Oh,
I've met Vernon
okay.
a bunch of times. Yeah, me and Vernon. I actually have Vernon's phone number. Me and Vernon are actually kind of cool. Thank you to football for giving me those opportunities. But during the national anthem this year at Richmond, although I was invited by Spire, just when they were singing the anthem, when they started to sing the anthem and all that kind of stuff, I was standing near Bubba's car. So I was standing like as close to Bubba's car as I could stand on pit road, you know what I mean? Yep. And when the flyby came over, we're facing the flag, so the flyby came from behind us. So when I turned around to see the flyby coming over, I turned around and Joe Gibbs is standing like 8 feet away from me.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
And I'm looking, like my brain starts glitching. I'm like, bro, that's Joe Gibbs. Like, and there was somebody standing next to me that kind of pointed like, oh, that's Joe Gibbs. And I was like, I gotta go say something to him. Like, I know anthem's over. We getting in the cars. I got it. I know there's a whole process to this. This might be the only chance I have to do this. I got to do it. I'm sorry. And I walked over to him like, yo, coach, I'm sorry. I know. I get it. Listen, I got to get this picture real quick. Like, can I please take this picture? Like, make it quick, but hurry up, come on. And he, we took a picture and he shook my hand and dabbed me up. And that was like, to me, to be where I'm from with the fandom that I have, to meet Joe Gibbs like that, although it was all of 45 seconds, that's probably like the coolest, at least as far as NASCAR goes. Because like I said, I've met several drivers, different times, but meeting Joe Gibbs is like, that's like a once in a lifetime thing for a lot of people. So I just like,
I get that. I'm a massive Patriots fan, and this year Matthew Judon was at the track, and I got to talk to him backstage for a minute. I was a little at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I was a little starstruck because I just want to talk to him because I just think he's just a nice guy, high energy. Like, we traded him, last week or whatever, but he was just like a face of the franchise for a few years, and I wish him all the best and to be healthy. But he was a cool cat, so that was cool. And then Travis Pastrana's mad cool. Tom Mentz, I did Monster Jam training to drive monster trucks. I've trained with Tom Mentz. Like, he's super cool. John Force is super cool. Leah Pruitt, Matt Hagan, and Antron Brown, Jared Todd, like them. There's just so many, man. I've been super fortunate to meet a lot of people. Ricky Carmichael, he was cool too.
I think I met Travis Pastrana at Richmond and didn't realize it was Travis Pastrana. Like,
really?
I believe so.
Was it this year?
Yeah.
Then it probably he was there this year. Yeah.
I think because like I was so. This is like back in the garage area. It's like Michael Kidd Gilchrist was back there, and we both went to Kentucky at the same time. It's like, okay, Mike, like it wasn't a thing just because we literally went to school together.
Right.
So like it was cool to see him, but like it wasn't like I gotta go meet Michael Kidd, So
yeah.
But like we were walking through the garage, and we're kind of it was Travis and somebody else. They both had this like the same shirt on, and we kind of stopped, and somebody like we got bumped into each other, and we stopped and talked for a minute. And then I went my way, he went his. And then again, I was so all over the place at that point in time. And then like after the race, they were like, something, Travis Pastrana. I was like, wait a minute. I know I didn't mess that up like that. I didn't just mean, damn. Like it was like, but yeah, man, it's
cool. It's been a cool experience, and I'm glad you've been able to experience meeting some people that you look up to or appreciate as well, man. That's cool.
Yeah. I've been able to check a lot of boxes over the last few years with the NASCAR, and again, still in this attempt to help grow the sport and bring more light to it to people who don't watch it and aren't as familiar with it. Seeing again people who look like us within NASCAR. Whether it's from a media space, whether it's driving, pitting, whatever the content creating, whatever the case may be, like there are more and more of us weekly, as it seems, going up and down pit road in some capacity. So just that's really the purpose and the thought behind a lot of this is I love NASCAR. My love for NASCAR is not going to change based on anything that happens behind this camera or microphone, but like I said, getting my kids who are, I have three sons they all love NASCAR. They have favorite drivers, and for whatever reason, my oldest son, I asked him before the race who you wanted to win the race, and he was like the 77 car, and I was like, why? But ironically, that's because most kids, I want to. They pick cars that they see win. Yeah. I like the 5 car, the 24, the 11, the 3, whatever, and that just hasn't been a thing for that team. Now, ironically, Carson Hocevar was who invited me to the race on Sunday, so it was dope for me to get the picture with the 77 car for him to see that. But it was like, just again trying to just get NASCAR, and show that it's not just a down south, 100% white thing, which a lot of people think it is, and that's just not the case. So,
love it.
But before we get up out of here, man, is there anything else you want to add, or anything?
No, man.
We've been going for a minute. I do appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate what you're doing. If there's ever a time where I can help you out or help your kids out, or the kids you're coaching in any way, shape, or form, just holler at me. You know how to get a hold of me. It's real easy. But I appreciate you, and we need stuff like this. I actually had a conversation with some folks recently where other sports just have so many people doing content that they don't have to do too much of their own, because there's just so many people that are fans of this team, fans of that team, you know what I mean, doing it. We don't have that. So having someone like you crossing over platforms and stuff, it means a lot, and I'm happy to be on here and helping with your movement.
Yeah, and it definitely helps on my end, with what I do with the Commanders and stuff like that, having that kind of Joe Gibbs tie-in to it. It kind of makes the connection just that much easier to make. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, I'm trying, and like I said, I try to get as many NASCAR guests as I can get, just again to make, even if it's not a driver, just to get as many people to again just be aware of what's going on in and outside of it from a standpoint of us, you know what I mean? Yep. So again, man, Mamba, I appreciate it. I didn't expect for us to be on here this long, but it just flowed, natural conversation.
Yeah, man. No, it was good. It was good. I appreciate your perspective for sure.
Man, anytime, bro, anytime. So again, in closing, this has been another episode of the Coolin with Coach Breeze podcast, brought to you by EBO Beard Butter. I am your game day drip coordinator, Coach Breeze. My guest, MambaSmith. We out.